Oh boy, what a shame. I'm late. Yeah, speaking of shame, this is our today's theme. How shame, what a shame, can affect dog training. And I will share my own experience so you better understand how it works. And I think it's an important factor that me most don't like to look at it. Um, so there is a mechanics of shame, and we want to look at that a little bit because shame is kind of, you know what I'm talking about? Shame. Does anybody? Good morning, by the way. Does anybody of you feel shame sometimes? Like feeling shame taking your dog out for a walk and knowing that people will look out the window and they're like, honey, come check her out. She's struggling again, or he's struggling again with her dog, right? Or you're a dog trainer and you're taking your dog out for a walk or you're gonna work on it, and your dog is kind of nuts, barking while you're trying to work, okay? And you know people are watching, and you're like wearing your training shirt, and you're like, oh man, that's so fucked up. So, I mean, we have to understand that shame is very close to guilt, and I feel that, you know what, let's talk about Oscar Wilde made a very good point. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinion. Their lives a mimicry, whatever. Their passion a quotation. And it kind of like struck me a little bit because how many of us, me, putting me in front of me. Yeah, I know I'm a me guy person today. So, how many times have I been in a situation where I am the good trainer? Okay, I put myself into that hoodie. I'm the one who knows everything, right? And how many times are you going out there doing a work and then thinking what other people are thinking about me? I want to be the guy people thinking good words about me, good thoughts, you know. Um, Now, I will share a little bit my personal experience with shame, because men don't talk about that because it's be a grown up man, man. Act like a grown up, act like a man is something that always overshadow this this problem we have as men. As men, we have to be a certain way. And there are old stories, starting with Hercules, how Hercules had to deal with all these things. There was no female Hercules. Why is that? So it's being suppressed, how we can feel and how we can function in this very pressured world around us, especially as men in dog training business, and especially as men owning a dog or having a dog or living with a dog or whatever how you want to tell it. Um, and I want to kind of break the ice here while having a coffee. So if you have a male friend, not a boyfriend, a male friend, you may want to share that with them, like that link, the video, and tell them, hey, I think that's a good thing to listen. I will not talk about you. I will not talk about them. I'm going to talk about me, and you can take that as base to step on and says, me too. I did that too. It happened to me too. So a little bit of a background story, and I'm going to open up a little my personal stuff. Many of you know that I'm very open about my trauma. I have complex trauma, and I felt ashamed talking about that to my parents. And I'm not in a good standing with my parents, for several reasons. And it's sad, but sometimes it's our choice to go that route for several protective reasons. I remember when I was young, I think it was in 2000, no, in 1990, no, 1974-ish, right? It's my first year in school in a foreign country. I was in Iraq back then. Went in with my parents, and there are different events happening around that year that is um, good enough reason to talk about that today. So my first experience with shame was when I was um, going the first week in school, and I wanted to be on top of it. And in Iraq, there are not usual toilets like we have here in US. The toilets are different. It's basically there is no seat. You just have to hook down like a dog does and then poop. And for some reason, I just was late or something, and I basically pooped myself. I just couldn't do it in there. I was just potty trained on a sitting on a ball, and that didn't work out. So I messed up myself. And so my mom came in and started yelling. My stepmom came in and yelling at me and punishing me. And she had a fine idea to shame me by pulling down my pants and putting me outside on the street, like on the front of the house, while I was expecting my friends to come over. You can picture the the story of the ending of that story. Um, and it's not. I don't want you to be empathetic right now. That's not the need. I just want you to show a little bit that I have experience with shame and different versions of it, and um, we're gonna talk about how that goes into dog training because there's a connection with it. How our past experience as a child or our observation as a child can lead us to get stuck in shame throughout our lives, and especially in dog training, which affects others. Okay, because we know as a fact that our emotions affect children, and our emotions affect dogs, and our emotions affect our environment. Now, shame is is so complex in emotions that you can compare it with anxiety. Um, Shame to death. Picture that. And my next experience was that those people who came over for visit went also to school with me. And like, okay, let me post here so people understand what we're talking about, just in case. um, I have to type it. Okay, so I got this down. Meanwhile, maybe you guys want to share where you're watching from. Um, there you go. Think, I think we got this. And I have all my pop-ups coming up because I had an update yesterday. Come on, go away. There you go. And I've seen that based on that experience that I had back then as a young child, it affected me how I felt in school. I felt people were watching me, people are judging me, people look up to find my mistakes. People will remember my exposure back then and would kind of like take me. The good part was that one of the kids that was with me, she felt pity, which is even worse. She felt pity with me and she took me under her wings, protecting me from others. So she was mothering me. That energy of me feeling victimized, her needs to support came in as mothering, and she took me under her wings in that class because I just moved there. I just came into that classroom, and in that class it was kind of a week or two, and it was very, very embarrassing. And that causes a whole snowball effect of in the future life how I was working around shame. So the other part that happened to me at a similar time was that my father and my father mainly was really an animal enthusiast. I would say lover, but not really because he screwed up many times some stuff. But he was an animal enthusiast. So we had a sheep. We have two sheeps in the house. We had an eagle. We had a fox. We had this chipmunks, and we had four dogs. And we had kind of like a little zoo going on. He loved snakes, and he loved um, um, how you call them, scorpions. So we had all these things in the house. So the funny part was that they left me alone for one day or two. I don't remember what happened with my stepmom. I don't remember that. I was very young. Back then in 2000, in 1974, I was 8. No, I was 6 years old. So what happened? Somebody opened the door of our property on purpose, and one of my dogs ran out and got killed, hit by a car. Now, I felt I had to be my father. I was kind of like projecting myself as a child. I want to become like my father. And so, what happened at that part, I start being more of the father. And so now that my dog got hit by a car because somebody left the door, I felt shame for not reaching that level. And of course, my father came back and I got shit about that. And I, my father wasn't smart enough to actually go and bury that dog, but I had to go there and visit that dog every day and see his decomposition. And every time I was there, I felt more and more shame. I basically saw decomposition of my, let's call it, I don't even know the word right now, um, my pride of being like my father decomposing with the dog in individual pieces of it. And from there, I had this obsession to be better than that, better than this, better than that. And so it always carried on. And I was an adult later on. It struggled me because I always wanted to be better, and I always felt judged, and I always felt shamed if I do something wrong. Any attempt to tell me, hey, what did you do there? Projected in my mind, going back to that original mistake, um, and then being shamed from that mistake in front of everybody else. Just even a question. So we see as a very young child that becomes a PTSD response, and I hadn't to talk about anyone because I was so deeply shamed about that that you just don't pull it up again and just don't talk about that again. Now, how does it affect the dog training? When we do as trainers or behaviors, when we work on a dog, we have a certain idea, we have a certain perception of what's going on, and we try to solve it. So we look at it from a solution perspective, and we're solution oriented. And what was that? What, oh, I was like, what's on my shirt? I just got my shirt this morning. I save lives. Yeah, maybe I do. I guess I don't know. And that becomes an issue when you're working on a dog and you're not successful and it doesn't go as planned, and you have to take the dog socializing, and unexpected things are happening, and suddenly the dog responds negatively or not the way you expect him to respond, and all of a sudden you're feeling watched from everybody else. And I know people says, oh, that doesn't bother me. That's what I thought too, but it did. We did. And you have you have your shirts that tells who you are. You have the advertising on your car tells everybody who you are, and then what people see you do and what you say you are two different things, and it just hits you very solid, and there is a dissociation on what's happening there, because sometimes we don't want to take that in consideration. We don't want to feel that shame, so we kind of, oh, we shame the dog. Our projection is, the damn dog. And that is a critical situation, because in order to avoid shaming and in order to admit the shame, we go into an aversive response. It becomes an anger management, being angry about ourselves, of failing and not being as we thought we should be. And then we say, how can I fix it? How can I make myself disappear? How can I move myself away from that situation? Maybe I should correct the dog for showing me shame, because that's what's happening. At the same time, as I feel shame and as my anxiety goes up, the dog responds to that with more of the behavior I wanted him to stop doing. And it becomes a vicious circle, like a vortex, and it becomes bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, the dog responds to your anxiety the way you don't want him to respond, and your response is aggressively towards that response of your anxiety, causing more anxiety, and all of a sudden it becomes a critical chaos. And you just cannot hide from that. It's just there happening in front of you, and all of a sudden the time slows down and everything goes in slow motion and everybody sees your mistake. It's kind of like a screenshot of your mistake and everybody looks at it. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever felt taking a dog out for a walk feeling shame of your dog's behavior? Have you ever walked as a trainer and feeling judged about you trying to explain things and the dog doesn't perform the way you want him to perform, and you're like, shit. Wow. Now, right now, I was kind of like telling her, how things should work, and the dog just doesn't take it. And how many of you have experienced that? It's okay. You can share it. I shared my shit. You can totally kind of say yes or no. Um, Now, behind that shame, there is worth and value, and these are closely connected. So, if you're feeling insecure about your value as a dog trainer, then that shame goes up. If you think your value is below the way you think it is, thank you guys, thank you. Um, we think it is, you literally, yep, right? And some that missing value, we try to suck in from our environment. We start sponging what the other people have values about us, and we let them evaluate us. And if that evaluation goes wrong because of our mistake, this is where then shame comes in. So it's kind of like a performance trap. And then you put on your coat of self protection, right? And that coat of self protection is very aggressively sometimes. We go after the dog, we go after the environment, and then we start calling in excuses. And some people go really nuts about it and actually pull up tools that are very stressful to dogs. Yeah, shock collars, prong collars, and because they feel so judged about their performance, they want to make a quick fix and then they reach out to those tools. I'm not blaming or shaming them. I was there, okay? But I need those people to recognize, and I need yourself to recognize, as I had um, this epiphany the last couple of days, to talk and think about that shame, because it has to become a healing process. You cannot just run around with your protection guardian behavior, um, and then and then think you can get away with it. You don't. It's gonna hunt you, right? Thank you. So, yeah, I'm a crossover. I was on a different path, and through those little experiences, I was able to get away from there. It was tough. I lost $150,000 business a month. I had I had to kind of give up not my name but my business as an entity, and I had to change the way I think. I have to admit certain things, and I had to become a self-realization that that route cannot go anymore, because shame is part of a survival tool. Okay, if I didn't feel shame, I wouldn't be able to go away from there. But in order to understand that, you have to recognize that you are feeling shame, and then you have to work around that. So the mechanic of shames, and I want to read that. I want to read that here because I think it's interesting. Yeah, I found here a quote from a document. I can share it with you. The mechanics of shame, though insidious, are quite predictable. Think back on an event or experience in which you made a mistake, dropped the ball, so to speak, let someone down, failed to deliver a project, didn't even show up. How soon after the experience occurred did feelings of shame and unworthiness break down the door to your heart? And I think that struck me most. I was like literally all the time. I was late to my appointment because I have ADD, and my perceptions of time, hi, um, and my perception of time was weird. My appointment was in 10, and my system said 10. And 10 was the time I had to leave, but no, time 10 was when I have to be there. And so I always end up being in shame, arriving at my clients 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late. And I had to come up with these excuses because I would pull out my blanket of protection, right? And yeah, that caused a lot of friction and tension. And I was literally 24/7 in shame because all these little things that happened around that I was in shame. Like my Facebook posts are covered in shame because of my mistakes and how people perceive my messages. And I'm looking back to some of my posts like for a couple 10 years, and I was like, what the heck did I post here? That's not what I believe now, right? Because we change. And then how many times we're we're trying to help a dog, and then we fail on that, and then we have the whole rescue community point us back. How many people are in rescue and they took a dog in that was beyond their capacity and beyond their financial abilities, and then they reach out for support and help and thin things wrong out, and then had to make that call of shame of I failed the dog. How many of you guys have the feeling of I'm failing my dog? I'm failing my skills as a dog parent. I'm failing as supporting my dog. I'm failing my dog in providing him the best food possible because my financials are low, and I'm failing to bring my dog to the vet because I cannot deal with his aggression, and I cannot even take my dog out for a walk because he's pulling my arm up, but in reality it's about what people perceive I'm doing out there with my dog. And every time a person comes out with my dog, my shame cover goes over, and it was like, oh man, how can I make myself disappear? Damn it, dog. Let's go back home. And so we have to yeah, right. um yeah, and I appreciate you guys for speaking up here because I feel I work with that around. I do feel shame once in a while, but as soon as I feel that shame, I kind of check in on that. um there's a Dr. Brene Brown. He says, hardwired for love, connection, and belonging. Huh. Okay, so the feedback is important when we're working with shame because it always comes back. The shame is the missing part of feeling loved. Shame is the missing part of feeling connection and belonging, because if we're not the way other perceives, they will be outcasted from our community. If I'm not rescuing the dog that other people expect me to rescue a dog, then I will be outcasted from a rescue community. If I'm asking money to fundraise my purpose, then people will judge me and I will be not getting the funds. I will not being supported. I will not be loved. You see how shame is kind of like rooted in all those deep, you know, network that always goes down love, and it comes down all the way self love. Kaboom! I need a coffee here. So, and I know many people have their own belief system about dog training, about parenting, and how we should do things. And sometimes this belief system puts you in those chains, right? Yeah, exactly, Wendy. And in those chains of how our belief system works, in order to protect ourselves, we're isolating ourselves. And the more we're isolating ourselves, the more guilt builds up because I've been gone for so long. So I remember an incident where I I posted something on Facebook, and it was basically a conversation that I had with another person of mine, a friend of mine who was also a trainer, and we were talking, and in my mind when we were talking, my scattered ADD brain, I was thinking my route, but the conversation went into that direction I was thinking. So next day I was thinking maybe I should make a post about it. So I basically remembered the sentence in my mind, but I didn't remember who said it. And so I copied that memory that I have and I put it on a post. And then my friend messaged me, "Wow, and you think that was your idea?" And I was like, now that he told me, now I remember who told me that. And this person unfriended me. And I feel shame about this because I did have a high value of that friend. And even though I put his name later on that text, our relationship was broken. And I felt shame about it because I just couldn't remember it. So sometimes your belief system and sometimes your health doesn't help you with that. It becomes a fatality. It becomes a fatal flaw that you cannot fix anymore. It's just done. It's dead. And then that shame cannot even go away. So you have to heal yourself on your own and say, you know what? I forgive myself. I forgive myself for making that mistake because there's nobody else to forgive me. And it's not about the other person forgiving me because it's not the other way to judge me because I judge myself. And so therefore I have to change the way I think about myself. And you know what? Okay, I screwed up. I learned from it. And now I can move on with it. The longer it takes me to get out of my shame, the more burned bridges I'll leave behind. And it's not what you want. That goes against your policy. It goes against your belief system. It goes against how you feel as a person loved. If every time you walk away from shame, the bridge will be burned and you cannot go back again. Not talking about things, not saying, hey, you know what? My evaluation was wrong based on my understanding back then that I had based on the information I had. This was my truly belief that that was the situation that happened. Now, at the end up was wrong. Now I know, understand better. Well, you know what? You don't work with me. You don't want to work with me anymore. I totally understand that. That's your choice. It's not my shame because I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it and I admit it that I screwed up. I messed up. I apologize. I apologize for not knowing better, but now I do. So you offer that to the other person, and if that person takes the shame on himself, it's not your fault as long as you don't throw that shame on him. But if you release that shame from you and the other person sponges it, that's not your problem. It's his emotion. He has to deal with it. And of course, you can make the attempt, but I think that's not the point. It's not your shame to take away from that person that feels shame about you admitting your shame, right? Now, that shame is not only affecting people that you're working with, it also affects the dog that you're working with. Because if you feel shame and you feel victimized and you feel attacked and you put your protection cover on is being transmitted through, let's call it quantum physics, that feeling of shame and that feeling of feeling protected it's being transmitted to your dog, and your dog in his own world with his own lens will see that as an attack. You walking down the street feeling shame is the story, thank you, um, is your story that is being transmitted. And the transmission is being trapped by the dog, and he wants to protect you. Actually, Jacqueline, I'm preparing a workshop on how to handle shape in dog training. And you're welcome. I will, I know, I feel shameful for that because Bonnie messaged me this morning. Hey, I want to join your classes. You don't have any classes on your website. And I was pulling my shame box of shame over my head. I was like, yeah, I know. I haven't done it yet. I'll do it this week. Okay. Um, yeah. So I think I think we should talk about that, and we should open up the platform of communication and conversation, because many friends of mine in my environment are being trapped in that shame because they were public figures, and because they were in an eye of competition, and in the eye of mentoring, and in the eye of followers. And I have the same way went on. I have my people who studying with me, and sometimes I feel shame of not having enough information for them. And literally sometimes I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and I research and I add those documents in my folders because I want those people to learn based on my experience. And sometimes I make mistakes, and then shame comes in of, man, I need somebody to go over my documents, okay, and correct those documents. And it's just a vicious circle. It has to stop, but it cannot stop on its own. You have to deal with it. Now, especially we're going back to the dogs, I got a little bit sidetracked. Um, you have to break that circle of shame, and you have to understand your vulnerability that interrupts those this circle, and only you can do that. Okay, only you can interrupt that circle, because it's a circle that you created. Is your own emotion. Nobody planted it there, but somebody projected onto you, and you just took it willingly on because of your insecurity. Is it because you're short? Is it because of your color? Is it because of your hair? Is it because of your white beard? Is it because of your language? Because of your grammar? No matter what it is, it's your perception. It's how you feel about it. And you cannot blame others for it. So what we have to do here is we have to hold on and says, hey, hold on a second. I feel weak. No. I need help. No. I beg for forgiveness. No. Please help me. No. Get your shit together. Once you admit that you feel shame, then it's how you create that momentum of start working on it. Recognizing that your dog is not here to shame you, your dog is here to mirror how he perceives your emission. And your emission is not dirt, it's a healing process. Because remember when I told you about my previous experience as a child where I got shamed, put naked outside in front of the door while my friends came in for a visit? That shame affected me. How many people as children lived in homes where people were drunk, people were fighting, police came over, neighbors came over? This is shame generation. Okay? And this same generation is being generated and is being reproduced again and again, because if you live all the time in shame, you don't know how to live without it. And if you feel in that non-loving environment, you don't know how to love yourself. So it's not embarrassing that people who feel shame don't understand how to love themselves, and there's nothing wrong with it. Because to love yourself doesn't come pre-programmed, right? So we need to understand that. You need to free yourself of those shackles that are usually on your legs, usually on your neck. So if you basically scan yourself, maybe you do that exercise now. Picture yourself as a picture in front of you and like a mirror, and then start from maybe like 2 or 3 feet above your head and scan yourself like a scanner. You remember those scanners you put your pictures on and you put the bzzz, and it scans like it scans your photos. Scan yourself and see if you can recognize any shackles of shame onto you. And when you find them, okay, maybe on your neck, maybe on your hands, maybe around your waist, maybe on your legs, if you find them, what I would like you to think of is, I don't need those shackles anymore. I can do better than that. And imagine that you kind of crush them just like this. You can do this. It's just an idea. It's somebody planted that idea for you kind of be in that space, but you can stop it from happening right now. And as you open up your hands or put it apart or get rid of it, I would like you to package it in this golden aluminum foil of this perfect love that these shackles of shame brought you to be who you are today, to be able to remove them. And yes, you have the ability to remove them. All you have to do is make the decision. So, admitting that you have them, finding them where they are, all you have to do, literally, open them up, take them apart. Don't hate them. Remember, it's about love here. So, I would like you to cover them in this aluminum foil of golden love and then send them back to the creation for recycling. Let them become something different, something better than that. And now that you have your hands and your legs and your throat and your waist loose, now I want you to go outside and I said, I love myself. I love myself for recognizing that I have those shackles on that I don't have anymore. I removed the shackles. I'm without them. And even though better, I would not even think about them. I would say, I'm free. I'm a free being. I can make my own choices. I can love myself like nobody else can do that better than I can do. And I take my dog for a walk, and it will be the perfect walk, best than ever before, because I don't feel shame about taking my dogs. And I admit we need to do more work on that. And I admit that we need to kind of sit down and break it down in small individual pieces so I'm not putting myself into the shame trap. Because I don't want you to walk around with the cone of shame or the box of shame. And I don't want you to trick yourself into believing that you need that shame to function. You can do without it. But you cannot just take it away and not replacing it. It becomes a vacuum. It's going to suck it right back in. So what we need to do here is we need to think ourselves as confident. We need to think ourselves, we love ourselves and we love our mistakes. You know what? I learn from my mistakes, right? And every time I learn from my mistakes, I'm going to break that mistake in half. I'm going to start little by little. And so that mistake doesn't become, again, one mistake, become a little mistake. So I can fix it. I can address it. I can recognize it. You kind of break it down. And I appreciate my dog for telling me, I feel anxious. Thank you. Thank you. You're feeling anxious. You just picked up on my anxiety for failing. Okay, I got this. Let's go back in. Let's start all over again. And again, okay, I feel confident now. I feel confident getting there. But you have to become self-aware and you have to become honest about it. And you have to change the way you perceive your environment and your life around it, because it's not created by others. You create it. You remember when you first came out of that belly, full covered in blood? Did anybody shame you there? No. You were stinking cute. Right? And once you feel like stinking cute, you love yourself because like, I made it. I'm out here. I can make my first breath. This is awesome. Keep doing it. Okay? So nobody cares your color. Nobody cares what sex you are. Everybody's happy you being here. And then somebody wants you to not do that. And you just fall for it. No. Don't you see the awesomeness in this? That you can make it up to here watching that video and sharing your own experience? That's a big thing. That's a knife cutting off shame straight on the root. Now all you have to do is remove the root. Yes, sometimes we just have to be honest about it. Sometimes we have to accept the feedback. Yes, I appreciate your feedback. Thank you, dog, for being a jerk right now so I can see that it's me actually who creates it. But I don't feel shame about it because all I want to do is transforming what's happening in me, not hating it and not suppressing it, transforming it into something that's more productive and more healthy for me. Yes, I appreciate you for telling me that. And that comes in with making peace with themselves and understand that what we do has a purpose. Because some of us, and you, and me, and some people else, we are here to clear that path, that deep rooted shame that comes down from generations. And now we have this precious dog in front of us who shows us what shame looks like and what makes the environment feel about it, and we can actually unprison ourselves from that and says, you know what, dog, I really appreciate you, you're a good teammate, it's not me. Or is it me? And I have to make that distinction. Is the shame mine, or do I represent it in extension of my ancestors? There is ancestor trauma that comes down the shame, no matter sex, right? So you can be a man, you can be a woman, you can be, no matter what you are and how you feel, it can be not you, it can be just an aspect of you, or it can be a lineage from you that you have to heal. And you have this dog helping you here. So take that as, let's call it an MRI, an emotional MRI that the dog presents you, and take it and chase it back. Who do you think you really are? Who are you? Do you know who you are? I didn't know who I am for many years, maybe 40 years. I was just trying to be the one who's not in shame by being everyone wanted me to be. And I was very good at that because I could shapeshift. I could be the husband, I could be the worker, I could be the trainer, I could be the driver. I could play all those roles. I did the role play, but I was never playing myself. So maybe you sit down today with your dog, have your dog snack something, and look at your dog. Hmm, who am I? Where do I come from? What do I want to be? And create a picture. Who do you want to be right now? Right now, in that moment, who are you? Do you feel yourself? Are you numb? Some people don't even feel their emotions because they're feeling so much pain all day long that that pain, the only way to handle is either medicating or dissociating. Me, I'm perfect. Who are you? I have no clue. I'm Mr. Perfect, I guess. I don't know. So the question, who are you, is what I would do today. Just think about that today. Who am I? Who am I? Look at your mirror. Look at your face. I'm looking at my mirror right now while watching the camera. Same face you're looking at with this red microphone. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What makes me happy? I remember one day I didn't know who I am, so I was sitting down like, what do I want to do? So I was picturing myself, and I ended up picturing myself as the first time I wasn't not myself. And I went back to that time where I was not myself. The first time I experienced this not to be myself. You're welcome. And think of what I wanted to be. And back then, by being able to do a time wrap, go back in this original time. I was about 4 years old. And funny part is that 4 years old, I just recognize now, was also the time that I was shamed the first time that caused my trauma. What I wanted to do was weird because it wasn't me pulling, I didn't feel like pulling my pants up, which I didn't have, or hiding myself, but I wanted ice cream. Oh, okay. I wanted a strawberry ice cream. Good. So I'm there, year 4 year old, wanting a strawberry ice cream on a cone, not on a stick. It has to be a cone. And then I wanted to wear a red hat. And it's nothing political, don't take me wrong. I just love back then the color red. It's not my favorite color, by the way. Back then, maybe it was. So I wanted a strawberry ice cream on a cone, and I wanted to wear a red hat, and then I wanted to have an ice cream with my red hat. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this today. Today I'm gonna be this 3 year old child, 4 year old child that wants their strawberry ice cream wearing a red hat. So I went into the car, drove. It was in Austin back then. Went to Austin in a dog park. Actually, not a dog park. It was a kind of a train, kind of a family train. Whenever the kids sit there, woo woo. You pay money so your kids running around in a circle with the train, and that kind of the train station. And there was an ice cream spot there. So I drove there with my car, parked, walked a couple of 100, 200 feet there, and I sat there with my red hat eating strawberry ice cream. And you have no idea how good it felt having that ice cream. Because for the first time, I loved myself as a 4 year old. I'm 52. Oops, 53. I'm 53-year old. My experience started in 2015. Yeah, 14 or 15. Trying to discover myself, who I really am, and starting at age 3. So maybe you want to do that. And if you're seeing a therapist, don't do what I tell you to do. Just talk to your therapist about it. Hey man, or hey lady, I want to be for a moment myself. Help me out here. Let me do this. Walk me through it. If you don't have anyone and you have your dog, do that. What's wrong with it? Check in. Who do I want to be? When was the first time or the last time I felt I am who I am? Go to that time and do what you want to do. Oh, I want to eat pancakes. I want to eat a donut. I want to hug myself. I want to sit on the beach and plunge my legs in my water because that makes me feel good. I don't care what everybody else feels. And maybe it makes you feel good too. Maybe that will be the beginning of taking your dog out for a walk without feeling shame of his behavior, and not feeling shame of how you feel, and not feeling shame what people others tell you you are and you're not, and you have to comply to the system, and you have to comply to those training modalities everybody push you onto, like they pushed me. Oh, to handle big dogs, tough dogs, you have to be a tough trainer, and tough trainers uses prong collars and shock collars and choke collars and intimidate their dogs. And I was like, what a shame. I don't have those tools. I have to get those tools because I will never be a being successful trainer if I don't reach that level of training. Man, I just bought into that shame. Thank God I got out of there. But you know what? It was hard because I have to admit I was wrong. I had to admit that the training system was wrong. I had to admit that I was not the one I wanted to be. I was the one they wanted me to be. And you can walk out from there with no damage. I have all my limbs. I feel good. I have done my some. I may have done something right to feel good about it. Give it a shot. What can go wrong? Shaming more than you already shamed? No, you can only go better. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. Shame would just peel off, right? It's being transmuted. Yes, sometimes you have to go through peeling. And as shame comes up, you heal and transmute that first layer. You're not throwing it away, you transmute it. It becomes healthy. It's an unhealthy place. It's not damaged. You're not damaged. You're not broken. You're going through a transition period. It comes up as a bubble and you have to deal with it. And yes, your dog is helping you out here. Take that. Take your dog as a teacher who's showing you how he feels. He's giving you a feedback. It's so inexpensive. It's so natural. It's so full of self respect. The dog loves himself, right? He loves you too. So don't take it the wrong way. It's not you personal. It's not against your person. It's about who you are. That persona is being affected by the dog's behavior. That's not you. That's your code. Are you really reacting to your dog because your coat told you to? You put the coat on, just take it off, just like that. No, I'm not taking my shirt off, right? So I'm kind of like done talking. We start doing things, right? So I would get out of my cone of shame and box of shame, and I'm going to put together a couple of classes. And you can go to my website, holisticdogtraining.org/events, and give me a couple of days, and I'll get these classes going. There will be in the future. I have to, create these presentations. I have enough experience to talk about it. It will be not just blah blah. I will have scientific evidence. We're going to do some exercises. It's going to really be helpful. Um, I've always felt not good enough, and that changed when I was able to help Sebastian, right? But you were able to reach out for help. Reaching out for help is not the same of please help me. It doesn't come in from guilt. It doesn't come in from shame. It comes in from understanding that I cannot do this alone. Hey, can you help me here? It comes in from a space of confidence. It comes from a space of self-respect. I respect myself. I'm not coming in as a victim. Please help me. I'm so poor. No, I need your help. I know you know things. You have done this before me. I need your help. Help me out here. What is the next step to do? It is the same question, but it comes from a different perspective. It's the opposite of guilt and shame. Thanks for listening. Thanks for holding space. It's not easy to talk about personal trauma, and personal experience because who wants to talk about pooping himself? Who wants to talk about being naked on the street and people watching you, right? But once you get over it, it's liberating. You can talk about it. It's totally okay, even if you're a man, even if you're a woman, even if you're a gender, you're not sure about what gender you are, because you're just in transition. You just literally become who you want to be, and you can do this, no problem. Nobody's judging you, right? We don't want to attract judgment by judging ourselves how others judging us. Just love yourself. Be authentic. Nothing easier than that. Do what you want to do that makes you authentic. There is no other person in this world who does exactly the same thing you do, the same way you do it, because just of the trauma that you had and just of this past experience that you have, just from your location, just from your gender, just from your environmental factors that affect your who you are, you will make a difference. Your dog will change. You will change. Your environment will change. Become a creator. Don't be a creative creation. We're coming in this belief system that we are a creation, but in fact, we can create. Well, these videos will be posted as soon as it's over. It will be accessible. And you can see it on YouTube. You can see it on my Facebook page. It's nothing secret, right? But the class will come up soon. I should be able to do this coming August. So keep an eye on my web page. I'll put the link. Oh, sorry. I need some more coffee. I will put the link in the same comment. And you guys can join. So, thanks for watching and looking forward for your comments. And if you need help in training and you want to go that route of being a shame free trainer, shame free behaviorist, you're welcome to check in with me, talk about it, and maybe have a way to help you. Thanks for watching.